Greetings, chess friends. Today, we're going to see a game that is out of this world. Two players. This game was played in the 1960s, but it looks like it's from the 23rd century. Whenever a chess game has these unique characteristics or things you don't see often, they often become really dramatic, exciting, and a little puzzling for humans to really understand. But oftentimes, you just can't look away. So let's jump into this game. Some of you may recognize the player with the white pieces here, Nezhmedinov, and he really is kind of a folk legend of chess in that same vein as Mikhail Tal, a legendary attacker, but maybe didn't quite have the positional understanding of some of his contemporaries. So Nezhmedinov is white, and his opponent here is lesser known, but also a master level player, played in some Olympiads I saw. And such. So definitely two strong players here. Based on the way this game goes, it's very ironic that this is chess.com is calling this the modern defense standard line. But this game is anything but standard. And you can see already that white has just an itch to attack playing h4, a good move, but just instigating. Again, white is a player with just one gear. Can be good when you get into those positions, but this game, black really elects to play in a very safe way. And I was actually researching a little for the episode and saw that this gentleman, let's say Ujtelki, not sure how to pronounce that one, but he was actually known for this type of hippo setup. So let's just take a look. Our pieces are kind of on unique squares. Of course, fianchetto is normal, but the knights don't usually go inward like this, more forward. But this sets up a very solid position. And against a player with incredible attacking capabilities, you'd probably want to be a little more solid. King f1, you can feel the creativity just dripping off Nezhmedinov, as he didn't want a castle so that his rook perhaps can help in the attack. But he did want some level of king safety, so king f1. And like I said, the game is a bit interesting. In fact, we have no captures until move 26. Black retains all of their pawns up to move 45. They have all 8 pawns. So, but now f6, and you can see this incredibly solid structure, and king f7, c6. Have you ever seen anything like this? As if a beginner were playing. But again, I think it's part of a deeper strategy where black was really just saying, I know your style. I know your reputation that precedes you. And if you want to come attack, I'm going to be ready. But you can't wait too long because you have this inner itch, so to speak, to attack. Okay. All that being said, this game is pretty balanced. The engine slightly gives white an edge, which makes sense. White has a slight space advantage. And therefore, the engine likes him a little better. The king is a little precarious. Appears like white has castled, although they didn't. And here we go. So again, these maneuvers, although logical, are difficult sometimes for an attacking player who just wants to go, go, go. This usually is a symptom of young chess players who haven't quite learned the nuances of positional play or the endgame, and they just want to go straight for your king. So really exciting, and you can tell black here is not really looking for a fight, just waiting for the fight to come to him. So this is the first capture in the game. Black captures a pawn on a5, and actually the engine loves white's position. White here really doing a great job, actually, and the computer pointing out ways to just force our way through with h5, which really doesn't ever come until much, much later when the attack is subsided. Those knights around the king, again, it kind of shows if you want to come at me, go ahead, but I'm going to be ready. So that is essentially what all this is saying. I don't think this was even a blunder here, allowing the exchange to be taken, as we have a very closed position. The rook extra that white has, rook for minor piece, but the rook extra really doesn't do much for white, as all the files are closed. Black does also have an extra pawn, which pretty much makes up for it. Slight advantage to white. But again, key squares start to become an issue, whether you understand these things or not. They're happening. And I think a really key square in this game is c5. White just owns that square, an outpost. Very difficult for the black pieces to get back and disrupt this beautiful knight on c5. And it just kind of dominates the queen side of the board. You can see he's aiming for that. And Nezhmedinov says, that's fine, I'll just replace it with my other knight. And this wasn't quite the best move, but doesn't totally spoil it. I think he just overlooked this idea of bishop takes e5. Essentially, this pawn is overworked, where it has to hold on to two different pieces. And when you take one, you let go of the other. So black is really clawing his way back into this wild game. And I think here really is a key mistake. The game close to balanced, but I really would have preferred here keeping control of that c5 square. So the engine gives moves queen b4 or queen a3, really just to keep an eye on that square. Do not let black take it over. You can also invade a bit here into d6 and scaring the king with a little less defenders around. But this didn't happen, and instead bishop c2, which was immediately followed by c5, a really good move. Now you can start to feel that these pawns are very powerful and could one day perhaps promote to a queen. b4 and c4 by black. Really nicely done. Collecting another pawn. Still, black has all 8 pawns. Very difficult to find any open lines or files to attack when all 8 pawns are in a chain across the board. That's really what's causing all the difficulty here for white. You have an attacking player who just isn't being allowed to play in his natural element. But he's going to try. Knight takes e6. That's the style of Nezhmedinov and, of course, Tal, always connected with this type of style. Knight takes e6 is the best move. Black still doing a bit better, but you can imagine here that this is not easy for black to navigate the dangers of your king. Queen h6, knight d to f8, an excellent move. Usually our knight on f8 is a good defender. It doesn't always look like this, but with a castled king around, the knights are great defenders. Bishop takes f5, and you can see, again, the best move. You can see that style coming out. Not the very best move, rook e1. Engine preferred queen takes h5 check, which comes next. Capture, capture. Didn't we just have all 8 pawns? Now half of black's pawns have been collected. Still, engine favors black ever since giving up that move c5 on the queen side. But still, a wild game. Remember those 8 pawns across the 6th rank here and the king on the run. And we still have promotions coming, folks. Don't go anywhere. So capture b4. Another good move. I'm always amazed by the quality of the older players when put under the microscope of today's engines. Rook f3, knight e6. Again, these knights really create this magical defense along with the bishop, guarded, guarded, guarded. All the black pieces really supporting each other, and that's what keeps the heavy pieces out. It's an interesting irony in chess that our heaviest pieces often are not really allowed to break through safely because you don't want to sacrifice them. So the queen, again, is powerless sometimes against smaller pieces. Okay, here we go. Knight d4. The other knight replaces it to block the check. Rook a5 threatening. h6, king d6. Another good move, avoiding some of the dangers. c3, c2. And again, we both now have pawns one step from promotion. Absolutely wild. Rook g6, going for rook g8. He puts his rook in the corner. And we have the other pawn going. 3 pawns, one step away from promotion. Here, queen b2, king's out in the open, and knight e2 check. Although a nice move, there was a brilliant move here, which was knight f3. Knight f3. Again, the engines of today are just so spectacular. And the retreat, queen g7 is the point. If you go to the h file, we'll just take the rook, nearly checkmate. If you go to king f1, bishop to b5, and again, checkmate is very close by. So that would have been a stunner, a knight f3, and kind of an ironic way to beat a wild tactical player. That would have been a nice finish. But he played knight e2, and that does also win a bit of material here as we promote. Look at this position. With 3 queens on the board, 2 pawns on the 7th rank, both kings out in the open. There's pins, there's danger. It's wild chess here, and really the fans, I'm sure, were enjoying. Here we go. 1 queen is gone. By the way, there's a total of 4 queens in this game. So here we go. Pins, checks, blocks, knight coming back. Can the knight perhaps be again the savior? And here, black really finishes the job with a8. I have in my notes that he resigned here, but let's just show that the engine gives -5 roughly, and knight takes a6 is just the winning move. Notice again, our queen is keeping an eye on things. Even if they do recapture, there's a few good moves here, and let's just show the engine's top move is queen c1. That has a major threat. It keeps our bishop protected. It keeps a3 protected from any checks. And even if you were thinking to perhaps push this pawn, notice the queen perfectly placed to pick off the rook too. So this would have been a really pretty easy win as long as they were not in time pressure. I had never seen this game until recently and just thought, whoa, this is fantastic. I love all the row of pawns. It's just something you don't see every day when we have 8 pawns lined up on the 6th rank here. And when we have a first capture of the game coming 26 moves in. When we have here, black has still all 8 pawns until the beautiful sacrifice, knight e6, correctly sacrificing. And then another sack, and you just can't hold a guy like this down. He wants to attack, but like I said, probably overstepped just a bit in this one. And then, again, these final positions are just fantastic, with both sides having pawns about to queen, the king's out in the open, the piece is guarding, and just chess you don't see every day. Chess, again, feels like from the future, although it's from the past. So look at the games of the old players, I always say, and it's really, there's a lot of special moments in chess history. Again, trying to find some more unique games, or maybe ones that aren't always written about to show, and I think that'll kind of give a different perspective on things. So lastly, I'll just say you cannot be a kind of one-trick pony and have only attacking skills or even only positional skills. Neshmedinov, although he was an international master and had many great accomplishments, he really struggled against the top positional players of the day. Petrosian and Korchnoi, Averbach, and those guys really just did a number on him because he only had one tool in his belt, essentially was just all-out attack. So like this game as well, black waited patiently, played nice defense, and when the attack finally came, it just didn't work. Not every chess position is suited for attacking, so you need to be a little more universal player, especially these days. Hope that was a fun walk down chess history lane, and you can all learn a little bit or just enjoy the games. If you do want to see more from this gentleman, Neshmedinov, really, I recommend. There's queen sacrifices and probably even a little more aggressive than Tal, but didn't quite have the rounded out positional and endgame understanding. So very good. Hope everyone enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.